If you're coming to Barcelona and you've only got one day, you've made a huge mistake. Nah, I'm just kidding. But you are here for a really short time. With so much to see, you're definitely gonna miss out on some things. But fortunately, I'm here today to take you around on a one-day itinerary on what I would do if I were here in Barcelona for just that one day.
But before we explore, we gotta make an obligatory tourist stop at the Canaletas fountain, where legend has it that if you drink the water, you'll always be able to return.
So while you're here, you might as well take advantage because you only got that one day. Make sure you get a drink so you can come back and see the rest. Now, I'm not giving you too early of a start. We're getting out here at 10 a.m., starting off on La Rambla, the most famous of all the streets here in Barcelona. And where we're gonna head now is La Boqueria, grab some breakfast to start our day.
With only one day in Barcelona, we've got a lot to see and not a whole lot of time to do it. So our itinerary is set up to try to make the most out of your time in the city. I want to show you what to see, but also give you some options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all while we see some of the most important parts of Barcelona. We'll start off in the old city visiting Barcelona's most famous market, La Boqueria. After breakfast, we'll explore the Gothic Quarter and the city's Roman foundations. We'll then break for lunch and turn our attention to the Eixample and Barcelona's modernist movement before visiting La Sagrada Familia. After that, it'll be time to hop on the metro and make our way across the city to scale Montjuïc and catch some amazing views before flying over Barcelona in the Port cable car and then landing on the beach. We'll then wrap up our day with dinner in El Born. Along the way, I'll share with you why these places are so unique, how much time you should budget for each, and what I spend throughout the day. It's gonna be a lot of walking, but if you've only got one day, we don't have any time to waste. So let's get moving.
Now our first stop is going to be La Boqueria, so we can grab some breakfast. It's a place that is on everybody's must-see list. It's not a place that I would recommend spending a whole lot of time, but you do have to see it. The most famous market in Barcelona. We're gonna take advantage, grab a coffee, a little bit of a breakfast to get our day going, because we're not coming back. You can see there are a lot of people in here, but the best time to come is always earlier in the morning where you can see everything still out. Later in the day, you have a lot less of a selection. We're gonna head over and try to get over to Quim de la Boqueria, which is an awesome spot that I definitely recommend if you're gonna eat inside. Big breakfast, café con leche, typical coffee with milk, and the Spanish tortilla. The best one to get here, the one that I like the most, is with vegetables. We're gonna have our cafe to get us going, and while you're in here, just take a walk around, check out all the different stalls, make sure to see it. So we got a lot to do. We'll be doing a lot of walking, a lot of moving around the city. You gotta see everything. And if you take a look, you've got a little bit of a placemat that gives you some of the history of the Boqueria. One of the big questions that everybody asks is, where's that name come? You can see right here, selling goat meat was boc in Catalan, hence the name Boqueria.
Just $6.75 for a Spanish omelet and a coffee. But before we leave, make sure to take advantage of the fact that we're in Barcelona's most famous market and get around and explore the rest of the Boqueria.
Now we've already finished breakfast, and for $6.50, not a bad deal. But we don't want to spend too much time in that Boqueria because we got to get over to the oldest part of Barcelona. It's time to hit up the Gothic Quarter. We're gonna jump off La Rambla into the Plaza del Pi, just outside of Santa Maria del Pi. Now we're not gonna be able to go in all of these different places. Obviously we don't have enough time. We will try to hit up some of the biggest spots around. We've already had breakfast over at the Boqueria, but one place that I always recommend is getting over to Petrichol. If you wanna have a different option from that Rambla breakfast over at the Boqueria. Down here, you've got Dulcinea and Granja La Pallaresa, which are two famous spots that are gonna let you have some hot chocolate if you wanna try that out. Now, like I said, we've already had breakfast, so we're not gonna hit over here, but remember, I will leave a link in the description below for an itinerary with some different options if you don't wanna follow this route exactly to the T. Now, there is a lot to see here in the Gothic Quarter, so what we're gonna do, leaving Plaza del Pi behind, we're gonna head over towards the cathedral. Now with the time lapse, I don't think you got to see that, so let's run that back and do it again. Now that is much better. I always love coming out of the Payas Street and getting over and just getting that wall, the Roman wall right behind us with the Neo-Gothic cathedral coming out of it. It is the place you need to get over to in that Gothic Quarter to really understand everything that we're going to be seeing this morning. I always think it's cool to walk up and into that old Roman city of what would have been these old walls, some of the largest parts that we can still see today. Get onto the inside of that Roman city and really get over to see that cathedral. Now when we get into that Gothic quarter, you can just walk around. There is so much to explore and see just the buildings from the outside. But if there were some things that I said you would have to get into in the morning, there are going to be two that are just must-see attractions here in that Gothic. One of them is going to be the cathedral right behind me. I'm going to grab some tickets just on the other side and jump on in. The other is going to be the Muba. But with about each of them, you're going to need a little bit more time than we have, so you're going to have to pick one. While you're here, make sure you jump back outside of those Roman walls so you can really get the full idea of the facade and get those bell towers in the back as well.
Entrance to the cathedral is €9, but that doesn't include access to the terrace, which will cost you 14 total if you want to go to the top. But in the interest of time, I've gotten just the normal ticket, and that's what I'd recommend if you only had one day in Barcelona. But I always think the cathedral is an important place to visit if you want to understand what the Gothic quarter is all about. The original cathedral started being built in 1298, but wasn't fully completed until 1913. On the inside, you have an incredible choir, the crypt of Santa Eulalia, patron saint of Barcelona, and so much more to explore.
You will have to take off your hats, cover your shoulders, and not wear too short of shorts. Keep that in mind. And after visiting the cathedral, you can get out and exit through the cloister, which will let you see some of the most important parts of the cathedral, especially the 13 live white geese, which are all about the legend of Santa Eulalia, the patron saint of Barcelona, and who the cathedral is dedicated to. And once you exit that cathedral, it's going to bring us right out to the Bridge of the Bishop, one of the most iconic parts of the Gothic quarter. So we'll go check it out. Don't let the style fool you. This bridge is actually from 1928. Everybody comes over and gets that picture, and legend has it that if you walk backwards under the bridge while looking at the skull that's just up top, you get good luck. If we don't have a lot of time, we can't throw down some luck. And if we follow the street straight down, that'll bring us out to Plaza de Sant Jaume. This is the government square where we have both the Catalan government building and the Barcelona City Hall. We're going to head out of the plaza, catch Paradis, turn up, and walk up a slight hill to get over to one of the Gothic quarter's best hidden gems. You can see that depending on when you get here, you might have to share it with a lot of people. It's not so hidden. And after a visit to those columns, which I think are some of the best parts of the entire Gothic quarter, you have an incredible view over to the back of the cathedral. We'll get over to the Plaza del Rey, the Square of the King as well. Now this is one of the most important squares that you're going to find in the Gothic quarter. You've got the Royal Palace on the inside, connected to the Viceroy's Palace, the Royal Chapel, everything that you can see around here. But it's also that second place that I said it's probably one of those must-sees if you got to try them out. And you've got the History Museum of Barcelona, which kind of encompasses all of this together. Now get inside to that History Museum, and you're going underground and you're walking through the entire, what they found of that Roman city that's left over, and you're coming back out through that Royal Palace. It's a really great idea. We're not going to do it today because it probably does take about an hour, hour and a half, but one of those other things if you don't do that cathedral. Now, it's a little early if you were to live here, but we've only got a little bit of time, and we've got to get over to the Sagrada Familia before 2:45. So we're going to start making our way a little bit deeper into that Gothic quarter to go one of my favorite restaurants around, Bodega de la Palma. Grab some quick tapas. Again, not something that I would usually do, but we don't have time to sit down for an entire lunch menu. It's going to be good anyway, and then we'll get moving into the new part of the city. So like I said before, this is one of my favorite places, especially over in the Gothic quarter. They have an incredible menu. A lot of times, a lot of those different tapas, but what I would normally do at midday is get the lunch menu. Now, right now we don't have enough time to get around and do that, so what I've ordered are some of my favorite tapas here to give you a little bit of an idea of what you can get. Of course, you've got the bravas, which is just a staple you have to try out at every single restaurant. These are some of the best in the city. Ensaladilla rusa, the Russian salad, which is just a typical starter and kind of a test dish, if you will, all around. And then you've got the calamari croquette, which is one of my favorite things on the menu. It's got its black ink on the inside, and it is delicious. I love that place. some great tapas, but we got there at a good time. Remember, you want to go a little bit earlier because you're not going to see the rush. It does get really busy, and it's really not that big of a place. And now we're gonna head our way over to that Sagrada Familia because we have those reservation times, but we still got a bunch to see. We got to see the Gaudi houses, so we're gonna walk. You can get the metro. I'll explain that and how that all works a little bit later because we will be taking it. But for right now, we're gonna continue on foot. The Catalan Music Palace is such an impressive building. It's one that actually has tours throughout the day. But like we've been seeing, we can't get into every single building. There's always reasons that you need to come back, but this is one of those modernist buildings, one of the few that you're actually gonna find in the old city of Barcelona. But it gives us a little taste of this idea of modernism that's gonna start to really send us into this newer part of the city. And that's where we're headed right now, towards the Plaza Catalunya and onto the Passeig de Gràcia. A lot of times I see that Plaza Catalunya, which you can see right behind me on people's itineraries, as if it's something to do. For me, it's not much of a thing that you need to get over and see, more something that you're kind of just passing through as you get from that old city, leaving that Gothic quarter behind and getting into that new Eixample. That's where we're gonna go. We're gonna get up the Passeig de Gràcia and get over towards those Gaudi buildings. But really not much to see, and you can see why.
If you're in Barcelona, architecture has to be part of your trip. And what the city is really known for is modernism. A walk along the Passeig de Gràcia will allow you to see some of the most famous houses and architects all on one city block. Known as the Block of Discord, you can see the Casa Lleu i Morera, Casa Amatlle, and the Casa Batlló, the first of Gaudi's houses that we'll see today. Oh, and while you're here, you might as well join everyone else and get your selfie. You can now make your way just a couple blocks up the Passeig de Gràcia to see the last of the houses that Gaudi was going to build, the Casa Milà or La Pedrera.
Both the Casa Batlló and the Casa Milà are Gaudi's last two houses that he's going to build. They're also the two most famous and ones that you definitely need reservations to get into. You don't want to just show up and have to wait in line. It's actually more expensive if you buy them at the door. So reserving them online is much better of a deal for you. But each of them is going to take you about an hour, hour and a half to get through with those audio guides, or if you do a guided tour. So like we've been saying pretty much all day, we don't have time for all of that, and we're gonna head just straight down over to the Sagrada Familia where we've got our timed entries. That's one of the other places that you definitely need to reserve ahead of time. Now, one thing we could do is we could jump on the Metro Diagonal. It's just 2 stops over to the Sagrada Familia on that blue line, but what we're gonna do to see even more of the city is continue just straight on down.
And on a long day with a lot of walking, remember to hydrate, grab your water.
So if you're leaving from the Casa Milà, you're on Provenza. But if you run parallel to that, Mallorca is the street that I actually jumped on over to, and you can see why. You've got such better views of that Sagrada Familia. You can't really get over from Provenza. And so we headed down straight over there, but that Sagrada Familia is right in the middle of both of those streets. This is the #1 thing to see in Barcelona. Depending on the year, the #1 thing to see in all of Spain. And we pretty much organized our entire day around this. I always think that you should think of the main attractions that you want and then figure out where else you should go. But we wanted to get over to the Sagrada Familia in that afternoon. You want to get the best part of the sun, and with the 2:45 entrances, what we're going to get is that idea of the sun coming over and setting on the side that we've just seen, that Passion facade, away from that Nativity, which we'll see when we get over to the entrances. But just remember, depending on what time of the year that you're coming through, you will have that sun at different places at different times. Right now, being September 27th, we've got a little bit more sun, a little bit more daylight, so we can get here. This is probably a good time to be here, even in the winter as well, but just kind of keep that in mind that that sun is going to be playing at different parts of the day at different times. You can see there are a bunch of people all around, and you definitely want to budget your time and make sure that you do get over here before your entrance times. You can't get in too much earlier than that entrance time that you have on your ticket, but you only have a 15-minute window, so you definitely don't want to get here late. Getting a little windy out here today, but you can see we're over here at the Nativity facade right now. The main entrances and where we're gonna have to take our tickets is right behind me. We still have a few minutes before that 2:45 entrance time, but you do, like I said before, you wanna get here a little bit earlier so that you can realistically get a feel for everything around here. There is a spot back over here that we will get to afterwards. You can see there's a bunch of people over there already, and that's going to be a great picture that you'll definitely want to get before you get out of here. But little disclaimer, what we don't have is the tickets with the towers. What I did is I just did the normal entrance like we did over with the cathedral. So we are going to get in, visit to the Sagrada Familia. You're going to want to budget for about an hour of your time. It's incredible, beautiful, and we're going to get in and we're going to see some of those colors. I can't wait to show you. Now we are going to have to go through security to get into the Sagrada Familia, so you do want to make sure that you can prep all of your things, have them in your bag, make sure you can get all of that in there. And we are going to have to take off our hats again. Really didn't think about this before deciding to do a video with a hat today, but now you guys can see that hat hair.
General admission to the Sagrada Familia is going to cost you 26 euros, but if you want to get tickets to go up into the towers, it's going to be an extra 10. 36 will get you in, but again, in interest of time, we're doing just the normal entrance today.
And we're in. Now with those entrances, you do get an audio guide that you can download and use on your phone. You'll have to use the Sagrada Familia app, but it'll give you some more information as you're getting around and getting through the building. And this is why you want to get in there in the afternoon. It makes it so much more worth it. Remember that you've got two very different facades. The front, for now, where we entered, that nativity facade is the birth of Christ, and that's where that sun is going to rise, where you saw those blues and those greens on the inside. But over here on the Passion, the death, you have the sun setting, and that's why we always want to get over during the afternoon so you can see the play of light with those reds and oranges and yellows that come in and really just paint the entire interior into it. Now there are two different exits, but what I've done is I've swung back around and come back out the same side that we entered on that nativity. You can exit over on the Passion facade, but we got to get over across the pond so we can get the best photo before we leave. What used to be a little known spot is now packed with tourists. You might have to wait a little bit to get that selfie or that picture if someone helps you out. But if you walk just right around the corner, there's actually a lesser known spot. You'll have some more space. It is a little bit more topped off by the trees, but you don't have that sun coming in like you do on the other side, especially when you come here in the afternoon. All right, so now that we've seen the Sagrada Familia, we've been to the old city, now into the new. It's time to get across the city. It's gonna be our first metro ride. Maybe for some of you, you've already taken it, but I'm gonna show you how to get those metro tickets so you can use them while you're here. We're gonna get over to Montjuic. We're gonna hop down into the metro at the Sagrada Familia. Remember, there are two lines. We're gonna jump on the purple line, the L2, and get all the way down to the end over to the Parallel. There are a lot of people waiting in line. I already have a card. I'll show you how to buy them a little bit later, but once you grab that card, you just head on over, you can tap, and we're in. So the idea is that we're gonna cross the city, get all the way to the end of that purple line, not too far, just a few stops, and we'll get over to a connection to the funicular. And that way we won't actually have to walk all the way up Montjuic. If you did want to walk up Montjuic, you could from there, or the other thing you can do is switch from the purple line to the green, go over to Plaza España, and start to make the walk up as well. All right, so to buy those cards, first thing you can do, you can change your languages, and then you've got some different options. You can see a single ticket's gonna cost you $2.55, so we're only taking that one time. Definitely worth it just to get one, but if you think you're gonna be using it a couple times, or if you've already used it, or thinking you're going to be using it for the places that we've been getting around to, your better bet is going with a T family you can share with other people, or you can do the individual. Individual is going to be a little bit more, just over 12 euros, and the T family is going to be just over 10 euros. So you can figure out how many times you're going to be going over, but all you have to do is select the card that you have. You can pay with your card, you cannot pay with your phone, and then your ticket comes out right down here at the bottom. The only thing with the funicular is there are some times when you do have to wait a little bit longer than any of those metros. We're getting here just as it's arriving down the hill, so we're gonna get on it in about 8 minutes to get up, and we'll get over to the top of, or close to the top of Montjuïc. That's why we're going up there. We're gonna get some great views. Been walking around the city, but now it's time to see what Barcelona looks like from above. When you get out of the funicular, you're not all the way up at the top, and there are a bunch of different things that I would love to do here on Montjuïc, but that's going to have to be for another trip. If you head back down that way, they have an incredible museum, which is the National Art Museum of Catalonia. Definitely worth your time. They've also got the Olympic Stadium, the Olympic Museum, and everything. They do have a castle up the top, at the top of the hill. Unfortunately, we're not going to get there either. What you do have is a way to get up to the teleferic, but you can see at 10.50 for just a one-way. I think it's really expensive, and I don't think it's worth it because there's other options that you can use to actually get up to the top of the hill, like the bus. You've already got your metro card. You can just jump on that bus. You can get up to the castle right away. The other thing, and what we're really going to do, is we're going to take the cable car across the port down over to the beach. And I think that's much more worth it because there's no other way that you can make that same trip.
While it's a lot of fun running around the city, it's also important to relax a bit and enjoy yourself. One of my favorite spots is Salt's Bar. It was the diving pool during the Olympic Games in '92 that have left us with some incredible photos and still offers incredible views out to the city and Sagrada Familia today. Stop and have a drink if you like.
Now you won't have a whole lot of time, but you can stop and get some really nice views over at what were the Olympic pools. Salt's is a great bar. It's got some awesome views just above those pools that were the pools for the diving. So we got some of those iconic photos of the divers coming off with the Sagrada Familia in the background. You get views of the entire city. What I love from Montjuïc is you can really just see how much bigger that Sagrada Familia is than everything else. So grab something to drink, grab a beer, and then start heading on over to the port cable car. Now the best part about coming up here is you get to have one of my favorite views. Not only do you see into the old city, to the cathedral, then out to that Sagrada Familia that we've been seeing sticking out amongst the rest, but you also get a view out to the port and a completely different idea of Barcelona. That Colón statue, the Mediterranean, and everything here. Just take a look. Now we got to get tickets at the cable car, and they have a booth just right up here that you can get them. I don't think, especially if you're only going to be here for a day, that it's worth getting a ride there and back. Just the one way down to the beach is enough, and get ready for some great views. So you can see those cable cars coming in. We'll jump in line right now and get on over. You can see those incredible views, and I always think it's much better to take it down towards the beach so you get back into the city. We're not too far now from the old center where we were this morning. You can see the line over here is much longer, and it's going to take a lot longer, but then you're up at the top of the mountain. You got to get back down in. So it's always better to already get up there and then take it back down. And the beauty with taking that cable car down to the Barceloneta is you're right along the beach. Now you don't have to get into the water, but I think it's always something you should at least see while you're here. You're only here for one day. See some of the important things. We've already seen that Sagrada Familia, the Roman foundations and the Gothic quarter, and now what was basically gifted to Barcelona during those 1992 Olympic Games, before those 1992 Olympic Games, just completely transforming the city and making it the city that it is today. That beach, as you can see so many people out there taking advantage of it. The weather today is perfect. It's something really nice for the city. Lots of different activities. You can go for a stroll, stop along, have a drink. We didn't have one up at the top at Montjuic, but we're starting to wind down with this day. We've already done a whole lot of things. What we'll start to do is make our way back over towards that old center into the Born, where we can get some dinner. But as we make our way back over to the Born, I don't want to do what most tourists are going to be doing, either walking up that beach the entire way or walking around and going over by the old port. The Barceloneta neighborhood is an amazing place. There's a lot of different tapas, restaurants, and everything that you should definitely check out if you've got some more time. But we're going to make our way through to see some of these streets, see another part of the city, and then get over to the Born. And by coming out just a little bit more at the top of the Barceloneta, if you will, you avoid all of those tourists and the big rush with all those tourist trap restaurants down there. You come out a little bit at the top of that old port. Now you do miss out on the views into the city a little bit, but you're just a couple streets away from that Born. We're gonna get over and check out the St. Mary's of the Sea Church, which is an incredible church to see. And timing wise, we should be able to get in for free and then head over to one of my other favorite tapas bars in the old city, El Champagnet. We've also got one of my favorite views out to Montjuic. We just came from up there, down to the port and looped back around. But just check that out. And just like that, we're in the Born. Next stop, Santa Maria del Mar. It's probably felt like we've seen a lot of churches today, but this is one of the biggest things to see in the Born. There's even a novel written about this church. It's one of the best you can find in the city. And if you need any more convincing, it's my mom's favorite church in Barcelona. So let's hop on in. It's the free entrance right now, where we can see a little bit of this incredible space. The other thing that makes it really worth it getting in here is that Barca has a window, a stained glass window with the shield, the crest of the football club, right inside of it. The optical zoom on these phones has really changed everything. Now you can actually zoom in and get your own picture. Spend a little time in the church and even get around to some of these back streets. It's really an amazing place to explore and one that I wish we had some more time for. But if you exit the church in the back, turn left and you've got El Champagnet right there. The only thing is that it's one of those restaurants that closes down midday. It doesn't open back up until 7 o'clock. You're gonna wanna be in line maybe a little bit before 7 because it really starts to get a lot longer now. Super, super popular place. But hopefully we'll be able to get in, grab some tapas, and finish our day there.
If you do have a little bit of time, you can check out the Passeig del Born, where they did all of the jousting in those Middle Ages. You've also got little streets all around that are definitely worth checking out, but make sure you get back over to Champagnet in time.
All right, so it's about 15 till. We're gonna head on over, get there a little bit early. Just to be clear, this is super early to be eating dinner, but if we don't get here at this time, we're probably not getting in. So if you want to, get over, grab some tapas, and then you can kind of make your way to some other restaurants around here. And one of the best parts about the Born is that you've got all sorts of different cocktail bars and places all around. Not even 7 and the line already looks like this. Definitely probably should have got here a little bit earlier, but what I'm hoping is that it kind of moves pretty quickly. And one of the tricks is, if you're not a big party, you're coming by yourself, you can get up to the bar pretty quickly. So the play worked and we got over to the bar. What you gotta get when you're over here is their special cup. It's called the Champagnet, their cava. It's been here since 1929. Delicious. Gonna order a few things, just tapas or plates that they have that I know are really, really good. try to enjoy ourselves here. This place is super small and still has its charm. So if you want to get in faster, the other thing, apart from going to the bar, is you can share tables with people. Meet some new friends, have some great food, and it's always a good time. Got one of my favorite dishes here, which is the dados de solomillo, those kind of diced up beef, and then you've also got some padron peppers, those green padron peppers that are said to be spicy but never really are. I always come out with some good portions. This place is a little bit more expensive than some of the other places that we've been to, but it's definitely worth it. Like I said, one of my favorite spots, and with the line outside, you can see there's a high demand for it. So about 25 euros here. If you're coming with some other people, you're probably going to order a lot more than I did, but you can see anything on the menu, you're going to be good to go. We got the dados de solomillo. Other things that you can get are the tortilla. We already had one earlier in the day, so we can't really order that. But you've got to get some bread with tomato to soak everything up, because everything has such a good kind of ending little juice to it that you know I love to add that bread to. Always a good time over here. You can see the line is getting super long at this point. Now we've had breakfast, lunch, dinner. You're free to explore over into the rest of the Born. Hopefully you've seen some of the best things that you can do if you just have one day in Barcelona. If you're looking for more information on some of those things or other things that you can do while you're here, remember to subscribe to the channel and watch this video next.